Good afternoon, sir. Yes. How is your stay in the Philippines so far, sir?
Well, very good, thank you. Yes, it's been a long travel. We came from Singapore, so it was 7:30 in the morning till 6:30 in the evening, but all of it's been good fun.
Yeah. And how do you find the PMAP conference?
Well, very good. From what I can see, the organization looks good. The convention setting looks very good. Huge number of people. Right, so it's great to see such a representation from all around the country coming here to Cebu.
With your observation, how do you find people management cases in the Philippines so far, sir?
Okay, well, I do some work with a number of companies locally that are typically multinationals or global companies, but some of them are Philippine homegrown companies as well. So I find them very interested and very willing to learn and wanting to know more about global best practices and human resources, and very happy to take on basically the principles that we're able to talk about. So I think there's a great thirst for knowledge and a great thirst for skill building within the country, and everything's moving on very, very quickly. I'm always impressed every time I come back at how much further forward things have gone. So yeah, it's good.
Why is people management crucial in any enterprise?
No, the answer is very simple, right? You knew that before asking the question. Because it's the key competitive advantage for every organization. You know, it's been shown time and time again. It doesn't matter if you buy new plant, new equipment, build new buildings, you can be copied within a very short period of time. You come up with a new product, new innovations, copied within a very short period of time. The true differentiator for most organizations is the culture, which is based on the people. So, you know, getting the right people in the business to do the right sort of things at the right time, that's the key. And again, there was a study from Harvard not so long ago which showed that changing culture significantly takes somewhere between 5 and 9 years. So once you've got that culture and you build it and you bring it on, you know you've got a sustainable competitive advantage for a long period of time.
How does a company implement an effective people management strategy?
Well, I think there's a number of different things. But first of all, they must be very clear about the mission, why they're there, what's the nature of their business. Secondly, the vision, which is where they want to go. So that's our sort of our starting point and our end point. And then very, very clear about the strategy, the roadmap to get from where we are today to where we want to be. And then the key elements are basically to structure yourself correctly to actually take that journey and then find the people to get on the bus. So we all talk about, you know, getting the right people on the bus and the wrong people off the bus, and that's fine. And I think Jim Collins is very good from that point of view, right? And good to great. So he says, yeah, it doesn't really matter where you're going, but get the wrong people off the bus first and get the right people on and then get moving. You'll find your way. And I think that's good. So that's the way that most organizations need to approach that, I think.
Attrition has been a very big issue in the Philippines. Even brain drain, people go abroad and find work overseas. How can a Filipino company address that kind of an issue and make people happy to stay in the organization?
Well, I think surprisingly it's not through paying people more. Yes, and if you look at all of the factors which are associated with people being happy in their jobs, it's really the ability to be involved in decision making, to be able to have their ideas listened to be able to do a diverse number of things, right? Not just be stuck at the one thing all the time. And, you know, so those things are all very, very important. I think brain drain is I wouldn't worry about it too much. I mean, you know, people leave for a number of reasons, but if it's to acquire good experience and different ways of looking at things overseas and then bringing it back to the Philippines to apply, then, you know, you can say that's a big plus, I think, from that point of view. So not too bad, yeah.
What case study that you know in the U.S. A perfect or an ideal business model or people management model that, you know, Filipino enterprises can emulate?
Well, I think if you go back to what I talked about before, which is the vision and the mission and knowing the strategy and then structuring yourself correctly and bringing the right people on board, that to me is globally important. And I see that some companies in the States, so for example, I think that GE was very good at that. I don't know whether it's necessarily still as good as when Jack Welch was there. I think Procter & Gamble is another company that's very good from that point of view. So it's a question of aligning people with the strategy of the organisation and making people feel like they have a significant role to play. You know, it's what gets people out of bed in the morning to come to work. That's the key issue, right? And if it's just money, then somebody else can pay just money. You want real commitment from your employees, and that comes through really feeling involvement in the organisation.
What are the challenges that Filipino enterprise that are hurdles, no, to effectively implement, you know, the business strategy, the people management strategy that works for them?
Yeah, I think for many organisations, I guess, and probably the Philippines cover this as well, but it's not unique to this country either. But it's a question of many organisations are a bit topsy-like. They've just grown, so they started off as entrepreneurial type companies and then they've grown to significant size, but never really looked at their business processes and the way in which they carry out the things that they do for their human resources practices. So I think there's a good opportunity to take stock, you know, to really sort of stand back and say, okay, you know, let's have a look at ourselves now and let's get clear about what it is we're trying to do and how it is we're going to try and do that. Then what does that mean from the people practices side of things? Yeah? So I think that's very, very key. So just people, somebody taking it by the scruff of the neck really and saying, okay, we're successful, but we need to really now look at how we carry out our business, what's things we're doing, and be more effective in the future.
My last question, sir, is about the advice or tips that you can give Filipino companies into, you know, implementing that kind of people management strategy, sir.
Tips, well, I could say hire a good consultant, right? Why would I not? Because, and that's not too far from the truth, because many organisations cannot do that effectively themselves. So I'd start by saying that it all comes from the top. So the chief executive really needs to start looking at the business and the people that they have. So let me just go, if I got 1 minute, a little bit of research, which was a few years ago, saying for chief executives, if you had a choice, how many of your team would you keep, right? So no strings attached. And the answer was only about 25%. So in other words, they're unsatisfied or dissatisfied with 75% of those people. Now that can't be right? So they need to be able to step back and say, well, what have I got here and what do I need to actually take this business forward? So there's a whole piece. You don't need hugely expensive strategy consultants to come in and do this for you, but sometimes you do need a little bit of objective external assistance to actually be able to say, yeah, okay, well, where are we going with this and how are we going to do it? And it's not that difficult. Okay.
Thank you very much, sir, for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All the best.